Welcome to Advanced Topics in Accounting, Auditing, Fraud, and Ethics. I'm very, very, very pleased to have you here and to present a little introduction to our course and my own background and approach to it. I was fortunate in my career to work for Coopers & Lybrand. I started out with Coopers & Lybrand and had a wonderful, wonderful experience with them, particularly in audit, but also in some consulting. And then I had an opportunity to start my own firm with Coopers & Lybrand's blessing, and I went on and did that, and that turned out to be a tremendous blessing in my life. And a lot of what I bring to this course and relative to particularly the cases where generally accepted accounting principles weren't being followed or those became an issue, I'm quite familiar with that. And the approach with this course is that we're going to review 20 cases in our 10 weeks together. These are all cases that would have existed prior to Sarbanes-Oxley and prior to subsequent legislation, particularly the Dodd-Frank legislation. And so what that will allow us to do is, number one, examine the failures of the profession, because we're looking at it from an auditing point of view. Examine the failures of the profession relative to not detecting those frauds. And then second of all, to look at the new legislation and the pieces that have been put in, particularly the emphasis on internal control. And that was all in the Sarbanes-Oxley legislation. To see how that would have affected it now. And then we'll also add some of the concepts from Dodd-Frank, which deal a little bit more with the investing community in the investing industry as opposed to maybe the general business public, but nevertheless significant from an audit point of view. And we'll look and see whether or not with those improvements and those new controls in place, some of this fraud would have been avoided. So I think you're going to enjoy this very much. I'm looking forward to some very lively conversations. The classes I'll have you write up the cases beforehand and submit those prior to the class, and then in the class, in the synchronous session, we'll go through and I hope have a nice lively discussion. We'll have 2 cases for each class, so we should have a pretty good lively discussion in those classes, and I think you're really going to enjoy it, and I think what this will do is give you a whole different perspective relative to what you're doing when you're auditing. I think it'll give a real emphasis to the fact that you can never completely rule out the possibility of fraud in audits. So enjoy.